We wake up thinking we're in control. Our calendar, our goals, our career, our relationships. But how much of that is actually ours? Marcus Aurelius once said that real strength comes from realizing what's in your control and what isn't. You don't control the events around you. You only control how you respond to them. That's easy to nod at, harder to live, because we want life to follow our script. We want effort to equal reward. We want people to act the way we expect. But they don't. And when they don't, we suffer. This is what the Stoics warned us about. The illusion of ownership. The lie that if we try hard enough or plan well enough, we can shape the world exactly how we want it. But life doesn't work like that. Imagine building a sandcastle by the ocean. You spend hours getting every tower just right. But the tide doesn't care. It comes in when it wants, and it washes it all away. That's most of what we think we control. Seneca, one of the most practical Stoics, used to remind people, you can influence the world, but you don't own it. The weather, the markets, your health, your reputation, your relationships, none of these are fully yours. You're involved, but you're not in charge. Here's the Stoic split. There are things within your control, and there are things outside of it. Only the first category belongs to you. You can control what you say, what you do, what you focus on, how you choose to respond. That's it. Everything else? Not yours. Not really. And that's where most of our anxiety comes from, trying to manage things we were never meant to control. Ask yourself, how much time do you spend worrying about things you can't command? Someone's opinion, the future, the past. That's wasted energy. Energy that could have gone into what is yours, your mindset, your decisions, your presence in this moment. Epictetus believed that peace starts when we stop chasing control and start focusing on what we actually own. Not as a retreat, but as a form of power. Because the more you try to control what's outside your reach, the more those things end up controlling you. So what would happen if you stopped trying to grip everything so tightly? What if you stopped chasing outcomes and started mastering your effort? What if you let go of needing people to agree, needing things to go your way, needing everything to line up perfectly? You'd find something rare, a kind of freedom most people never taste. Marcus Aurelius wasn't just writing philosophy, he was writing personal reminders in his journal. He was an emperor, surrounded by chaos, war, politics. But he still understood. Peace only comes when you stop trying to rule the things you don't own. So take a second. Look at your own life. What are you clinging to that was never really yours? Let that question sink in, because how you answer it, that's the first step toward actual freedom. There's an old Stoic teaching that draws a sharp line through everything in life. On one side, the things you can control. On the other, everything else. It sounds simple enough, almost too simple to be useful. But once you actually apply this lens to your everyday life, you'll see how much of your energy is spent fighting battles you were never meant to win. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this constantly. He kept reminding himself, focus only on what's yours. The rest is just noise. That was his way of staying sane in a world full of chaos and power games. So what exactly falls on your side of that line? It's not much, honestly. Your decisions, your reactions, your values, how you show up today. That's the core. That's what belongs to you. But here's where most of us go wrong. We keep reaching over to the other side. We obsess over things we can't command. What someone else thinks. Whether your plan works out perfectly. Whether people like you. Whether luck shows up. All of that is out of your hands. And the more you try to control it, the more frustrated, anxious, and burnt out you become. Epictetus explained it like this. Trying to control what doesn't belong to you is like trying to steer a ship from the shore. You're yelling at the waves, shaking your fist at the sky. Meanwhile, your own thoughts and choices are drifting with the current, completely unanchored. So ask yourself, what are you actually holding on to right now that isn't yours to hold? Or you trying to change someone? Are you stressing about an outcome you can't guarantee? Are you replaying the past, wishing it were different? Let it go. Not because it doesn't matter, but because your grip on it was never real. Seneca once said something powerful. We suffer more in imagination than in reality, and most of that suffering comes from wanting things to go a certain way, then punishing ourselves when they don't. But that's not life failing you. That's you trying to live outside your circle of control. Look, we live in a world that constantly tells you to chase influence, control your image, hack the system, predict the future, shape how people see you, always be in charge. But all of that is built on sand. The Stoics knew this 2,000 years ago, and it's even more true now. What would your life look like if you only focused on what was yours? Seriously, take a moment, picture it. You stop worrying about how people interpret you. You stop arguing with reality. You stop clinging to outcomes and start showing up fully for the process. That's not giving up. That's taking your power back. Most people spend their whole lives trying to control the uncontrollable and blaming themselves when it doesn't work. But you're not most people. You're building something stronger, something grounded. So here's your practice. Next time you feel stress rising, pause. Ask one simple question: is this within my control or not? If it is, act on it. If it's not, let it pass like weather. Marcus Aurelius faced plagues, war, betrayal, and still found peace. Why? Because he trained himself to care deeply about what was in his power and to let go of the rest without bitterness. You can do the same. This mindset won't make you invincible, but it will make you unshakable in a world that's always shifting. It's easy to think that Stoicism was made for another time. Ancient Rome, sandals and scrolls, philosophy under olive trees. But look closer. The Stoics were dealing with the same human problems we are, just without smartphones and deadlines. Anxiety, fear of failure, status games, broken relationships, uncertainty about the future. Sound familiar? Marcus Aurelius was literally the emperor of the most powerful empire on earth, and he still had to remind himself daily not to lose his mind over things he couldn't control. If even he needed this mindset, what does that say about us? Now, fast forward to today. We wake up and reach for our phones. Within seconds, we're hit with a flood of information. Someone got richer. Someone looks better. Someone's life seems more put together than ours. We compare. We spiral. And before we've even brushed our teeth, we've lost the day. Here's the problem. Modern life is designed to pull your attention away from the things you actually control. Seneca warned about this long before there were social feeds. He wrote that people waste most of their lives worrying about what others think, chasing things that don't last, and never truly living in the present. He said that people are frugal with money, but waste their time, which is the one thing you never get back. Now imagine living by the Stoic dichotomy of control today. You scroll social media, but instead of envy, you say, that's not mine to control. You check your inbox, see a passive-aggressive message, but pause and think, I control how I respond, not how they behave. You face rejection, failure, or chaos, and you remember, this moment is hard, but I still own my thoughts. That mindset, that's power. Epictetus used to teach that it's not events that disturb us, but our opinions about them. In a world that constantly throws stimulus at you, this idea is more relevant than ever. You can't stop the world from being loud, fast, and chaotic, but you can choose what you let in and how you let it shape you. So ask yourself, what are the daily traps that pull you into the illusion of control? Your phone? Your job? Trying to change how others see you? The Stoics wouldn't tell you to quit your job or throw your phone into the sea. They'd just ask, are you spending your energy wisely? Or are you letting the outside world run your internal world? There's a Stoic concept called the inner citadel. It's your inner fortress, the part of you that stays grounded. No matter what's happening around you, the world can crash. People can misunderstand you. Life can go sideways. But if your mind is trained, you stay standing. Now, more than ever, you need that citadel. Because modern life is full of distractions that feel urgent but change nothing. Drama that looks important but steals your peace. Opportunities that promise happiness but only deliver more stress. So what does Stoicism offer us today? Clarity. Control over the only thing that's ever been truly yours, your own reasoned choices. The ability to stay calm while everyone else panics. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself that people will gossip, judge, interrupt, lie, betray. But none of that should touch your mind unless you let it. That's not ancient wisdom. That's a survival guide for the 21st century. Here's the challenge. Live your modern life. Do your job. Check your emails. Show up in the world. But don't give your soul away to things that don't belong to you. That's what Stoicism looks like in 2025. Not detachment from life, but alignment with what truly matters. And if you can build that mindset, if you can learn to live from the inside out, then nothing out there can shake you for long. We all want to be seen, to be respected, to feel like we matter, and there's nothing wrong with that, until it starts running your life. External validation is one of the most addictive forces in modern society. We post something, and we check how it performs. We speak and wait for the reaction. We achieve but only feel proud if someone else notices. It's subtle, but dangerous. Because the more you tie your worth to what other people think, the more you give them power over you. Seneca once said that if you live according to other people's praise, you'll die with their criticism. He saw it even back then, this human need to be validated, approved, admired. But he warned that it creates a kind of slavery. You stop acting from principle and start performing for applause. And here's the thing. You could be doing everything right, living with integrity, working hard, growing as a person, and someone out there will still find a reason to judge you. So what are you supposed to do? Spend your life chasing their approval? Constantly adjusting yourself to please everyone? That's not Stoicism. That's insecurity dressed up as ambition. Epictetus believed that freedom begins when you stop worrying about what others think and start caring deeply about your own moral compass. You don't need to impress strangers. You need to respect yourself. Now think about your own life. How much of what you do each day is motivated by the hope that someone notices? Would you still post that thought if nobody liked it? Would you still take that risk if nobody clapped? Would you still pursue that goal if no one ever gave you credit? These are hard questions, but they're necessary. Because once you start needing validation, you start negotiating your values. You hesitate to say what you believe. You shrink when you should stand tall. You chase approval instead of purpose. Marcus Aurelius faced this constantly. He was surrounded by flattery, lies, manipulation. Everyone wanted something from him. But in his private writings, he kept reminding himself, do what's right, not what's popular. Live for truth, not praise. And that's the Stoic test. Can you do the right thing even when no one's watching? Can you speak honestly when it's easier to stay quiet? Can you be proud of yourself, even when the crowd isn't cheering? Because if you can, you're free. Look, validation feels good, we're wired for it. But it should never be the reason you act. The applause will fade. The likes won't last. The image you're curating will eventually crack. So anchor yourself in something deeper. Your character, your discipline, your clarity about what actually matters. The Stoics didn't seek attention. They sought alignment, with reason, with virtue, with the parts of life that don't depend on anyone else. You don't need to prove anything to the world. You need to prove something to yourself. So here's a challenge. This week, do something meaningful without telling anyone. Something good, something honest, something aligned with your values. And watch how powerful that feels, how liberating it is to act without needing a round of applause. That's where real self-respect begins. That's where peace begins. And that's where the tyranny of external validation finally ends. Letting go doesn't sound like power. It sounds like defeat. But what if it's the opposite? What if surrendering control over what you can't own is the ultimate form of strength? Seneca taught that when we resist reality, When we fight what life hands us, we only make ourselves miserable. But when we accept, truly accept, we find freedom. Think about it. You can't control the past. You can't rewind mistakes. You can't erase words said or actions taken. So why do we keep gripping those moments like lifelines? Why do we torture ourselves with what-ifs and if-onlys? Because we confuse acceptance with giving up. The Stoics called it amor fati, love of fate. Not just accepting what happens, but embracing it, even the hard parts. Imagine you're holding a heavy rock. Every minute you clutch it, your hand cramps, your arm aches, your focus drains. But if you set it down, you free yourself. That rock? It's the things you can't control, people's opinions, outcomes, setbacks. Marcus Aurelius faced invasions, betrayals, personal loss, and he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In Tao. Other words, obstacles aren't just blockades, they're stepping stones. Your resistance makes the obstacle heavier. Your acceptance turns it into a path forward. Letting go isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's the courage to say, this is what I have. This is what I'm facing. Now, how do I respond? That's the real power. Epictetus believed the only thing truly yours is your own reasoned choice. And when you release the illusion of control, you reclaim your peace. But letting go is a practice. It's not a one-time decision, it's a daily surrender, a constant adjustment. Picture a river. You can't stop its flow. You can't command it. But you can learn to navigate it, using the currents, not fighting them. That's what letting go feels like. So here's a question. What are you holding on to that's weighing you down? What are you resisting that could actually become your way forward? Try this. Next time you feel stuck, take a breath. Step back. Ask yourself, am I fighting what I can't control? And then try to let it be. Not because you give up, but because you're smart enough to know when to redirect your energy. That moment of surrender, that's where your real strength lies. Because freedom isn't about controlling everything. It's about controlling your mind when the world won't listen. It's about loving your fate, whatever it brings. Discipline isn't flashy. It doesn't come with a crowd cheering, it's quiet, it's steady. But it's the engine beneath every Stoic's strength. Marcus Aurelius didn't wake up and command an empire by accident. He built habits. He controlled his impulses. He trained his mind like a soldier trains for battle. Epictetus taught that freedom comes through self-mastery, not through external power. Imagine a calm lake. No storms toss it around because the waters are deep and still beneath. The surface, that's discipline. It's not about punishing yourself. It's not about rigid rules. It's about choosing every single day to align your actions with your values, no matter how you feel. Seneca reminded us that the mind becomes what it's trained on. If you train it on distractions, fears, or chaos, that's what you get. If you train it on resilience, clarity, and virtue, that's what you become. Internal discipline is the guardrail on the road of life. It keeps you from crashing into frustration or despair when things go wrong. Think about your own habits. Do they serve your peace? Or do they drag you toward anxiety and regret? The Stoics saw discipline as a form of freedom, a way to break the chains of emotional chaos. When you control your thoughts and actions, no external event can break you. You might lose a job. You might face criticism. You might feel overwhelmed. But with discipline, you respond with calm, clarity, and courage. That's why the Stoics called it the art of living. And it starts small. It's saying no to one unnecessary distraction. It's waking up on time, even when you don't want to. It's choosing honesty over convenience. These small choices build an inner fortress, a place where peace grows even in the worst storms. So here's your challenge. Pick one area where you can strengthen your discipline. Maybe it's your morning routine. Maybe it's how you handle anger or frustration. Maybe it's setting boundaries with people or technology. Whatever it is, commit to it for 1 week. Watch how your mind changes. Notice the freedom that grows from control over yourself. Because the quiet power of internal discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about showing up for yourself every day, no matter what. And in that consistency, you find the strength to face whatever life throws at you. Life throws curveballs. Some days feel like a gift, others like a cruel joke. And much of it comes down to fate or fortune, things completely outside our control. Marcus Aurelius faced this head-on. He knew empires would rise and fall, allies would betray, and health would fail. Yet he didn't waste energy resenting fate. Instead, he reminded himself that fate is the natural order, the flow of the universe, and resisting it is pointless. Seneca put it another way. Fortune is like a river, sometimes calm, sometimes wild, always moving. You can't stop it, but you can learn to navigate its currents. This idea is hard to swallow because we want life to be fair. We want to think if we just work hard enough or plan perfectly, we'll avoid misfortune. But that's not reality. You might get laid off tomorrow. Your plans might crumble. People you trust might disappoint you. These things are part of the game. The question isn't if misfortune will come, but how you'll respond when it does. Epictetus said something striking. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. That's the Stoic secret. You can't choose fate, but you can choose your attitude. Here's the tough truth. Fate is indifferent. It doesn't care about your hopes or fears. It just happens. But your mind, that's where your power lives. When fortune turns against you, you have a choice. Collapse in bitterness and anger, or accept it, adapt, and keep moving forward. Imagine life as a game of cards. You're dealt a hand you didn't choose. The Stoics would tell you, play that hand, as best you can. That doesn't mean surrendering to fate passively. It means embracing reality fully, then acting with wisdom and courage within those limits. Ask yourself, what misfortunes have shaped you? How did you respond? What if you chose acceptance over resistance next time? There's freedom in realizing that life's unpredictability is a given, and that your peace depends not on changing the world, but on changing your response. Marcus Aurelius faced plagues and wars but chose to meet each day with calm resolve. Seneca survived exile and tragedy by focusing on what remained within his power. Epictetus taught slaves and commoners to find dignity in their internal freedom no matter their external circumstances. Fate doesn't discriminate, but it doesn't define you either. You are more than luck or circumstance. You are the thinker, the chooser, the one who decides whether fortune controls you or you control yourself. So embrace the uncertainty. Stand firm in the face of chaos. And remember, the storms of fate are temporary, but the strength you build to weather them lasts forever. So you've heard the Stoics' wisdom about what you can control, what you can't, and how to live between those lines. But how do you actually make it real every day? That's the real question, because knowing something isn't the same as living it. The dichotomy of control isn't a one-and-done lesson, it's a practice. A mindset you carry with you from morning coffee to midnight thoughts. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, constantly reminded himself, remember, you have power over your mind, not outside events. This wasn't philosophy for him. It was survival, sanity, and strength. So let's break down what living the dichotomy looks like daily. Start with awareness. Notice what's stirring your emotions. Is it something inside your control? Or are you wasting energy on the uncontrollable? Awareness is the foundation of change. Pause before reaction. When you feel frustration, anxiety, or anger rising, stop. Take a breath. Ask, is this mine? To control or not? That split second can change everything. Focus on your actions and thoughts. You can't control the traffic jam, but you can control your patience. You can't control if a colleague snaps at you, but you can choose kindness or calm. Accept what you can't change with grace. Let go of bitterness and should-haves. Life is messy. The Stoics called it amor fati, love of fate. When you accept reality fully, you stop fighting and start flowing. Cultivate internal discipline. Your mind is your fortress. Build it with daily habits, reflection, journaling, intentional choices. Seneca advised us to guard our time and mind fiercely. Live for your own values, not others' approval. Remember the danger of external validation. Choose integrity over applause. Speak your truth quietly but firmly. Practice gratitude and perspective. When life feels overwhelming, remember how small many worries are in the grand scheme. Marcus saw himself as a part of nature's vast design, a tiny piece in an endless puzzle. Return to the dichotomy often. Life will keep testing you. The difference is whether you respond with awareness or automatic stress. Ask yourself, what's within my power right now? What's outside it? Where will I choose to place my energy? Living this way doesn't mean you'll be perfect or even always calm, but it means you'll be free from needless suffering. You'll find strength in the things you do control, and peace in letting go of the things you don't. Imagine your life as a garden. You can't control the weather, but you can tend your plants, water them, pull weeds, create space for growth. That's the dichotomy of control in action. And in tending that garden, your mind, your choices, your values, you create a life that no storm can uproot. So what will you control today?